So, welcome to the Droidcon Italy webinar. My name is Francesco Brocero. I'm one of the organizers of Droidcon Italy. Today, you'll be hearing cybersecurity, the good, the bad, and the act. From Olowoniwa Gabriel Ayokunle, we will be using YouTube comments for question and answer. Please post your question there on YouTube. This webinar is brought to you by Synesthesia and powered by Bluetooth. Thank you, Olowoniwa. Have a great webinar.
All right, thank you, Francesco. Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Olowoniwa Gabriel Ayokunle by name. I am a cybersecurity analyst, and at the same time, I am a software developer. I am in the .NET stack. I do PHP, Java, JavaScript, and .NET. All right, so the title of this webinar is Cybersecurity, the Good, the Bad, and the Act. Well, you might be wondering that why this topic. All right, I actually fell in love with cybersecurity since the first day I was hacked. And to even think the way they hacked me was just through phishing, although I never knew what phishing was all about then. But I was hacked big time, and it's really messed my reputation up online then. So without further ado, let me go straight into the presentation. All right, so as I said this just a little bit about me. I'm Olowoniwa Gabriel Ayokunle. I currently work with eTranzact International, and you can follow me on Twitter at Gabislaw, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn link. Okay, so throughout the course of this presentation, we'll be talking about different things. What is the meaning of the word cyber? What is the need of cybersecurity? What are the security problems in the cyber field itself? Then how to implement and maintain security of a cyber field around us. Then secure coding for developers. I'll be dwelling much on this part, the secure coding for developers, but I'll try as much as possible to be detailed and for people that are not developers as well, so they can have a grasp of what I'm trying to explain. And contrary to what people believe, that cybersecurity is mainly for some certain set of people, that is a wrong notion, and that's a wrong idea. Cybersecurity is for everybody. In fact, I would even prefer, and I would even appreciate it if cybersecurity is introduced at an early stage to kids in school, so everybody can be security conscious. Now it goes all the way around from the tender age up to different levels. So that's why it's important that everybody is security conscious. Now, moving on. What's the meaning of the word cyber? Now, the word cyber denotes it's a relationship with information technology, that is computers. Now, it can relate to all aspects of computing, including storing data, protecting data, accessing data, processing data, transmitting data, and linking data. So now, from this little explanation of the word cyber, when you just oppose the two together, cyber security. So that means cybersecurity is just security for the cyber. So once you know what cyber is all about, that is, it relates to all aspects of computing, that is storing data, protecting data, meaning the cybersecurity, the security part of it is how you secure the data, how you secure, you get what I mean? So cybersecurity is just the security for cyber. Then moving on. So what is the need of cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is actually important because it encompasses everything that pertains to protecting our sensitive data. I'm sure you really don't want your information to just be out there, or someone to just have access to your information just like that, or someone to leak your information. So it's very important because it helps you in protecting yourself, and it helps you in identifying some security threats, etc. So that is some of the few reasons why people need cybersecurity. All right, so we have some major security problems. I will just highlight just these 5. Now, you must have heard of virus before. It is common nowadays that, oh, my device was attacked by virus. My disk was attacked by virus. You must have heard of that before. So virus is a major security threat. in this 21st century. Now we have hackers too. Hackers themselves, they pose a whole lot of security threat to people. You must have heard of hackers. Don't worry. In the process of this presentation, I will go deep into all these things I'm highlighting. So we have malware, we have Trojan. I just added this. I really don't know why I even added it. Password cracking, because we have other means too. Moving on, I call from the topic cybersecurity the good, the bad, and the act. I was able to coin out what I call the circle of cybersecurity. So just give me a minute, please. I want to. 4 minutes. Okay. All right. So as I was saying, I call it the circle of cybersecurity, where we have the good, we have the bad, and we have the act. Now, the real question that should come to your mind is that who is the good, who is the bad, and who is the act? I'm very sure you must have an idea of you must have an answer in your mind right now. By the time we are done with this presentation, you would have understood the good, who the good is, who the bad is, and who the act is. We know. All right. So we have some major vulnerabilities and recommendations. But by going to the vulnerabilities and recommendations, I listed out some things the other time in former slide about major security problems that we have. So I would like to quickly pick one or two, to pick it one after the other and quickly just run through it. Whenever we hear about virus, a virus is a program that is loaded into your computer without your knowledge and runs against your wishes. Now, any unwanted program that is running on your device, be it a laptop or a desktop or a mobile phone, it's actually a virus if it is not wanted there, and it's without your knowledge, and it starts doing things that you never wanted to do. Now, there's just a basic solution for this. One is a very security suit, a very good antivirus. It scans your system and it removes the virus. All right, now in a layman term, what's the next one? Hackers. In a layman term, what do we really mean by hackers? I can just decide to say an hacker is a person that breaks into computers, usually by gaining access to the administrative control, that gains access to more or less like a root access. Or an hacker is just someone that even with a little control that is given to the hacker can do a whole lot of damage on your system. So now you must have been hearing about hackers before, but now not all hackers are bad. We have the white hat hackers, and we have the gray hat hackers, and we have the black hat hackers. Now, from what I just talked about right now, the gray hats and the black hats, you should even know who the bad ones are. All right. Moving on. Now, you can actually prevent hacking. There are so many ways by which you can prevent hacking. Now, okay, before I go deep into that, because we have so many ways by which you can prevent hacking, we have so many ways by which you can get hacked. Now, that is more or less like a detailed conversation. So if I decide to dwell much into that, we might not finish this webinar on time. So by the time I'm done with this slide, I'll try as much as possible to come to this so that I can explain this into details. All right, moving on to the next, we have the malware. Now, malware was gotten from the word malicious software. So they moved the mal in the malicious and the ware in the software. So that was how they got malware together. So now malware is any software that infects or damages your computer system without your permission. So now, how do you stop a malware? We have so many anti-malware out there. But mind you, there are so many anti-malware that even serves as a malware on your system. So you should try as much as possible not to just go for all this free anti-malware that you don't know the real source. Now, it will be a nice thing for you to also activate the network threat protection. You should activate your firewall, and you should have a very good antivirus. Now, moving on to Trojan horses, we have Trojan horses, which these are like an email virus that can duplicate themselves. Now, it's mostly people targeted so as to steal information from your device, from your system. Now, how to actually prevent Trojan horse on your system? You have to have a very, very good antivirus. Apart from the fact that you have to have a good antivirus, you need an internet security suite as well. So now, once you have an internet security suite, that is actually meant to protect you whenever you are downloading from the internet. It scans what you're downloading and checks if that thing has it is probably a Trojan or not. So now, talking about password cracking. So we there's a way. There are so many people that they use basic passwords. You can imagine someone registering on a platform and the password the person is using is password. Or some people use QWERTY. Some people use QWERTY 123 password 123. These are basic passwords that if someone wants to penetrate you, if someone wants to actually bypass your security page, those are the password that they first try. And some people try as much as possible to even use their birthday combination as well. All those things are very, very easy to guess. So it is very, very important that whenever you're secure your password, you must use a very, very strong password. And aside from you using a strong password, it is important for you to use alphanumeric phrases for your password. With that, it is actually making it much more difficult for someone that wants to break your password to do it successfully. So now, moving to the major vulnerabilities that we have out there and recommendations. Remember, I said I would draw in secure coding for developers. So now I'm more or less like entering that of secure coding for developers, because most of the things I'll be talking about here affects developers more. So when you are building or when you are developing your software, you're developing your app, there are some basics that you should actually pay attention to. Now, some major vulnerabilities and recommendations. One, binary protection. Now, we know that most people, whenever they use probably Android devices, they try as much as possible to root or jailbreak their device. Now, once there are some security features that actually came with an OS itself, but by the time you jailbreak or you root your Android device, it's actually opening it up to some unwanted things. I think to use that word, to some unwanted things. So when a device has been compromised, any form of malicious code can actually run on that device. That is that is the reason why if you jailbreak your device, by the time you download any app online, there's no way the OS can to verify if this is coming from a real source or not, or there's no way there's no way the device can actually fight some of the apps that you are downloading because you've already jailbroken it. So because you've already jailbroken it. So now, for developers, it is actually nice for you to detect whether a device has been compromised. So now, whenever you are writing your code as a developer, you can actually add an extra layer of policy enforcement to risk the mitigation, and risk mitigation to protect the data within the application from being exposed. So you can decide to add a level of security to your app. The level of security, what it does is that it checks if a particular device has been, if they've actually jailbroken it before. If that has actually happened, you can decide to make it in such a way that your app won't work on such devices. Most especially if the app you are developing is a sensitive application. So because by the time a device is compromised and your app is compromised on that device, at that particular point in time, people would not really ask the question that, well, wait, did you jailbreak your device or not? What they start talking about is the fact that, oh, it's the software that is bad. So it is important as developers as well to pay attention to this thing. Now, secondly, we have insufficient transport layer protection. Now, whenever you want to do encryption, I wrote here that encryption must be used for all authenticated connections, especially internet accessible web pages. Now, backend connections should be encrypted as well, or risk exposing an authentication or session token to malicious actors on the same network as the application host. Now, once you are building an app and you know your app is going to access the internet, you should try as much as possible to put a level of authentication to your, sorry, 1 minute, please. Level of authentication to your app in such a most especially apps that actually that accesses the internet. So many things fly in the internet. So if you don't, from your code, from the code angle, if you don't handle all these things, it's going to bounce back on you as the developer, reason mean that if anything happens to the app, the fault or the blame will most likely be on the developer itself. Now, a recommendation is that encryption should be used whenever sensitive data, such as credit card or else information, is transmitted, because applications that fall back to plain text or otherwise be forced out of an encrypting mode can be abused by attackers. Now, let's assume you are building an app that involves people making payments online with their credit cards. You are probably saving the health information of users. Probably maybe you are building an EMR system, for example. As you are extending the information from your server to your app. Now I'm talking about, excuse me, please. Now I'm talking about people that the Android developer, or let me say mobile developers. So as you are exchanging information from the server to your app, or from a third-party API to your app, try as much as possible to add a level of encryption to it. A level of, you can use different, we have some different encryption out there, but if possible, you can even combine your RSA plus AES encryption together. So by the time you do all those encryption processes, you are rest assured that all the information you are passing across are encrypted. So nobody can, an attacker cannot just abuse it. Even if an attacker wants to do that, it's not going to be an easy work for the person to do. Now, the next is insufficient authorization and authentication. Now, this results when an application does not perform adequate authorization checks to ensure that the user is performing a function or accessing data in a manner consistent with the security policy. You can imagine a situation whereby an attacker has gotten access of probably a user that is using your device. Now, the attacker is now trying to authenticate or trying to authorize using that user's profile. Your app should work in such a way that it checks to confirm if the user has sufficient authorization to access the particular page that the attacker is trying to access. Now you can imagine a situation whereby you are building, for web developers, you are building a page, but personally you know you know the fact that an admin can actually admin, let's say xyz.com/admin/users. That page is for admin alone. But for a user that is just coming on the platform, the user doesn't even have an idea that there's a URL called xyz.com/admin/users. Now, in a situation like that, an attacker can just try to test after getting access to a user's platform, a user's profile, to test that URL directly. So you should be able to confirm or to check to check if anybody accessing this particular resource has sufficient authorization to do that. So now a recommendation is also enforce a proven authorization framework scheme that emphasizes policy-based configuration files over hard-coded authentication authorization checks wherever possible. Moving on. So we have cryptography. This is cryptography improper certificate validation. Now, this application is either not validating SSL, TSL, TLS certificates, or is probably utilizing an SSL certifications validation system that will not correctly verify that a trusted provider issued the certificate. So now, I've seen a situation whereby some people claim they use SSL on their platform. Let me know, web developers, for example, they use SSL for their platform. But if you access some pages of the platform, the SSL is available there. So some people even get SSL that is not from a trusted source. So it is advisable that whenever you are building your platform and whenever you want to make use of SSL, TSS certificates, make sure it is issued from a trusted provider. We have so many trusted providers out there. So, how many, please? We have so many trusted providers out there. So you should try as much as possible to ensure that your application certificates validation is configured properly and from a trusted source. Now, brute forcing and user enumeration. I've actually experienced a situation whereby some developers, when they develop their platform, the kind of validation they made use of, or the kind of validation they do on their platform, if there's an error, they display the error in plain. For example, a user that is trying to log in with a username and a password. After putting the username and the password, I've seen some error messages like, oops, your password is incorrect. Now you've actually given an attacker an idea that, oh, the username is correct, but the password is wrong. So automatically the attacker has confirmed that yes, the username is actually correct. So it's just a matter of the attacker using more or less like brute force technique to try to guess the password. So it is possible, it is very important for developers. You should ensure that whenever you are displaying error messages, you should ensure that you display a generic message. For example, the response you are displaying can just be, even if you understand that yes, the username is correct, you've done your checks and you see that the username is correct, but the password is not correct. An error like username or password is not correct. That is important. That is very, very nice, because situation like that, the attacker doesn't know if the username is correct or if it is the password that is not correct. So the recommendation here says the user enumeration vulnerability typically occurs in the following functionality: login, registration, or forgot password. Those are the major points by which most people display such errors. Now, let's talk about insufficient session expiration. Now, we all know that each user, unless probably maybe you're building a social media platform whereby you've set your session, or you've set for people that are even using token, you've set your token to never expire, or to take, let's say, a month or two for the token or the session expires. But if you are building a sensitive information, it is very, very important for a developer to confirm that once a user clicks on the sign out button, you invalidate the user's session. And if you are using token authentication, you try as much as possible to make sure the token becomes invalid. Because a situation whereby an attacker gets access to a user's device or gets access to a user's session, it can actually decide to trick your platform by logging in as the user itself. So it is important that once the user clicks on sign out, it signs the user out automatically, and it invalidates the session that was already assigned to that user. Now, I've seen situations whereby important apps, whereby a user clicks on logouts, or a user closes the particular app, and maybe after an hour the user comes back there again. The user is still able to see the last page that he or she left. Actually, for bank apps or for insensitive applications like that, it is very important not to try as much as possible not to do that. Now, another thing is information leakage and application cache. Now, sensitive data can actually be leaked through your application cache. We all know that whenever a user uses it, for web developers, we have a browser cache. Now, for mobile users too, we have a situation whereby the app is actually being cached. So it is very important for you to ensure that any sensitive data that you are passing through the app is not being saved in the cache, because cache is not 100% secure. Anybody can access. If you have access to a device, then you have access to the cache of that device. Now, what about a situation whereby the user misses our phone, is our device? Now, if you are sending sensitive information, or if sensitive information is being locked in the cache, then it is actually detrimental, because once the user's phone or the user's device has been compromised, then everything that you are saving there has actually been compromised. So I want to quickly run through this very fast because my time is fast spent. Now, talking more about secure coding for developers. When opening file for writing, now I'm dwelling more on Android developers. When writing your code, when opening file for writing, make sure to open it in private mode. Then try as possible to encrypt data using strong encryption, possibly AES. Now, if you can actually combine your AES and RSA together, that is very, very nice as well. Now, try as much as possible to not decrypt data on the client side. Any data that is being passed, try as much as possible to send encrypted data, send it to your server, and make sure your server decrypts the data first before validating it. Now, there are some situations whereby some developers write codes in such a way that once they get that the data has been sent to the server and confirm that the data has been sent from a reliable source, that, oh yes, it was the user that sent it. Yes, they just passed the data like that. It is very, very bad. Try as much as possible to send encrypted data to your server and make sure the server decrypts the data. Confirm what is in the data that's been sent before you validate that data first. Now, another way is use AES encryption to store secret information and making secure storage. My sincere apologies, I have to rush the remaining part of the slides. So now, then aside that, always use random cookies and keys. Now, probably, maybe if I have time, I will write a blog post regards this part. This always use random cookies and keys, because I've actually experienced a situation whereby someone has actually been asked through these cookies and keys before. And I've actually seen a situation whereby, let me digress a little bit. I've seen a situation whereby developers, the way they do their configuration or the way they put their keys, you will see them using keys like super secrets. It is super common. It is so common, that word super secrets. So if an attacker can actually get hold of that configuration file, you actually know, or even if it's not getting hold of that configuration file, an actual attacker can actually think of the fact that, okay, fine, let me try super secret if it will work. But okay, I digress based on that. This is a conversation that we had. Probably maybe I'll write a blog post as regards that. Now, make sure your application sends request to server over SSL. This is very, very important. I can go on and on to talk about the importance of SSL. Make sure any request you are sending, send it over SSL. Even if you are consuming an external API, try as much as possible to request for an SSL format, an SSL version of the API that you are consuming, so as to do a perfect handshake. Now, most application fails to handle SSL certificate validation error on the client side. Now, this is more or less like buttressing what I said and what I already wrote here. That whenever you're sending information, even if it is not sensitive information, there's nothing stopping you from sending all requests over SSL. So let's try as much as possible to adhere to that. Now, copy and paste should be disabled on sensitive fields. Now, what do I mean by that? You've seen a situation whereby I've actually used some platform before whereby when I'm trying to fill my card details, if you right click on it, or if you hold it down and paste, hold it down and paste. So it's actually accepts it that it made filling my card number. All right, I feel you should always try as much as possible to disable copy and paste. That is for Android developers. Try as much as possible to disable copy and paste for sensitive fields. Now, the reason why this is actually important again is that once you copy something in your clipboard as a user, as a mobile user, once you copy something in your clipboard, that thing is not 100% secure. I've seen a situation whereby a clipboard was actually attacked before. Now, an attacker can actually design a virus in such a way that the virus actually targets your clipboard. Everything you copy on your clipboard, the virus actually changes it. Now, I'll give you a little scenario. It once happened to me. That was before I came into the cybersecurity field. That was before I started taking courses in cybersecurity. I remember the situation whereby I was trying to send some amounts through Bitcoin to someone else. I think I was trying to sell Bitcoins then. So when the person sends his Bitcoin address to me, I copied it. So when I went to my blockchain wallet, I pasted the Bitcoin URL there. I put the amount. At the point of clicking on submit, I didn't even know what happened, but I knew something caught my attention. about the Bitcoin wallets I actually copied. Something caught my attention. It was different from what I actually copied. It was different from what I copied. It was different from what the person sent to me. So I went back again. I recopied. I thought probably I made a mistake. I copied it again, the real thing that the person sent to me. Once I pasted it, it was something else that was being pasted. So it was at that point I knew that, oh, something is actually fishy. So then I did something. I got I put it on one side of the screen, the one that the person sent to me. Then I pasted on a notepad, the one that was being pasted whenever I want to use it. So I saw that it was different. So at that moment in time, my system already had virus that was already attacking my clipboard. And what the virus does was that it changes everything that I copy. It changes it to what the attacker wants me to copy. In that situation, assuming I had proceeded to send that Bitcoin would not have gone through to the person that I wanted to sell it to. It would have gone straight to the attacker. So we must try. So that is why clipboard is not 100% secure. So that's why it is actually important for you as a developer whenever you are building sensitive information, sensitive apps. Try as much as possible to disable copy and paste on sensitive fields. So now these are some of my references. So now, before I end the session, I would like to actually talk generally. Now, I've been talking about secure coding for developers. Now, what about people that are not developers? Does that mean that they can actually benefit from this session? No, they can actually benefit from this session because there are some basic things that they need to do. Now, I would like to quickly just talk a little bit about phishing. Now, the reason why I'm talking about phishing is because of the fact that it's something that actually happened to me. It happens to the best of anybody. Now, it has happened to me before. That was one of the things that actually made me want to learn more about cybersecurity. It's just a little story, a situation whereby I was on the platform, I was registered there on the platform. It's been long for people that knew about that platform, then mov.mobi, wapka.mobi, then it's been long. So I was one of the registered users there. I was one of the admins. We have black admins, red admins. So I was one of the top admins then. So I was doing a tutorial on that platform in the night. I was posting in the forum. Then I saw a message on the platform. Someone sent me a message. So I clicked on the message. The person sent a link. Now, at that particular point in time, whenever someone wants to try as much as possible to attack you through phishing, they send something that interests you. Some of them send something that interests you that no, you will really want to click. So I think the person sent something that actually interested me. Then I clicked on it. So I saw one login page. I registered. I put my details there, and that was it. My account was actually compromised. So the person just logged in using my details, logged me out, changed the password, went to all other platforms I was in. That the person did havoc. Now, personally, I don't advise people to use the same platform to use the same password across all channels, because what happened to me then, I was on like 4 to 5 different platforms, but I was using the same password there. So what the attacker did was that when he had access to one, he logged into the remaining platform, then he changed my password in all those platforms. So what was I meant to do? So it is actually important for you to try as much as possible to not click any link you see, and try as much as possible when anybody sends you an email, try to verify if it's an email prompting you to do something very sensitive. It won't cost you a thing to actually pick up your phone, call the person to confirm, hello, did you really send me this thing, to confirm what actually happened, that so you won't just fall prey by clicking on the link. It is also important for you to check the URL if it's a website that you were actually asked to click. Most especially, people try as much as possible to target your mails. They give you a URL whereby you click on it. It takes you to probably to your Microsoft account, takes you to your Gmail account, takes you to your Yahoo Mail account. Most likely, I don't know, maybe you've actually checked this before. Most likely, the system you use in logging into any platform, probably maybe if you are the type that logs into Gmail every day, the system that you use in logging, the system already recognizes you. Once you type your username there, there's more or less like an autocomplete that comes out. Then you type your password. But a platform or a website that you are not sure of, that you click on the link. Let's assume that someone sends, we have gmail.com. So let's assume an attacker registers 9mail.com. 9 looks exactly like G. So an attacker registers 9mail.com, sends it to you, click on it, you see the normal Gmail login page. So by the time you type your username, it doesn't be autocomplete. Then you should know something is fishy. On a normal day, whenever you go to your normal Gmail, you type your email, it recognizes, the browser recognizes that you've been here before. It gives you an autocomplete. But the browser is seeing the new URL as a new URL. So that's why whenever you type your username there, it doesn't give you the autocomplete. So let's try to be mindful of that. Also, it is very important that once someone sends you a link, try as much as possible not to click on the link. Even if you are inquisitive, even if you really want to know what is happening on that link, try to highlight the link, copy it, paste it on a different browser, or maybe just go to a different device entirely. Type the link out yourself and click on it to actually see what is there. And try as much as possible not to put your details out there, your random details. I've seen situation whereby for people in Nigeria here, I've seen some platforms where they'll tell you to do this, to do that, kindly drop your BVN. Then you see people dropping their BVN, their bank verification number on public platform. It is very, very wrong. So let's try as much as possible to be security conscious. Security is for you, security is for me. So let's try to stay on top of our game. Let's try to stay at alert. So I think I'll be bringing this session to a pause. If you have any questions as regards this webinar, or any question generally as regards cybersecurity, secure coding for developers, you can drop it in the comment section. I will respond to it. And for developers too, if you have any questions regards probably maybe you were writing a code, you want to confirm if this is secure enough, if you need code snippets, just reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Twitter. I already pasted my Twitter details here. You can reach out to me via Twitter as well, or via LinkedIn. I will be glad to help. So I think right now we'll take a pause. Thank you, Francesco.
Thank you, Olowoniwa.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So now Olowoniwa will be taking questions shortly. And I'd like to once again thank our sponsor, Bluetooth, and let you know that our next webinar will be the 22nd of September, and I hope to see there. Back to you, Olowoniwa, for questions.
Okay.
I think that we have some questions.
Yes, I've been seeing some questions here. Okay. All right, someone asked a question. What about the malwares hidden in some application published on Google Play? Oh, that's a very valid question. Personally, I've seen situations whereby you download apps from Google Play. Then once you download it, you see some malwares written in it. But first and foremost, I would love to tell you that before you download something on Google Play, try as much as possible to check the reviews. Check the reviews. You sometimes you see some applications with, let's say, 100K downloads, and you see the stars that it has less than 3 stars. That is a red flag for you. That's one. Secondly, once you check the reviews on that particular application, once you check the reviews there, it is very possible that someone out there has actually downloaded the app and has experienced what you are about experiencing. So once you see it there, that's a red flag for you. Don't download it. Third, apps. There are so many developers that develop apps. Some even do it like more or less like they do it intentionally to upload on Google Play Store so as to just harvest people's credentials or so as to attack your devices. So you try as much as possible to download things from Play Store from a verified source. So now, finally, so what about the malwares hidden in some application published on Google Play? Personally, for the users that are using it, there is little to none that you can do about it. Most especially once you've downloaded such application, it is important that you look for a very good antivirus user to scan your device. And if you notice such an app, you delete it. Now, finally, I would like to quickly add one thing. There are some applications that you are going to there, you must have experienced a situation where you download some applications and you see some pop-ups, some notifications that starts disturbing your devices. All right, so actually you can actually get rid of that. It's either you remove such application, but if such application is an application that you really enjoy using so well, you can go to your notifications and you can go and disable notification for such applications. Thank you. All right, so someone asked that, do you suggest an antivirus for Android? Well, this is a very, very tricky one. This is a very tricky one. Personally, I have to be sincere. Personally, I have an Android device as well. So personally, I really don't make use of an antivirus on my Android device because of the fact that I try as much as possible to check whatever I download to check if it's from a reliable source. But nevertheless, if you want to use an antivirus for your Android device, we have so many antivirus out there. You can use your Norton, you can use Bitdefender, Avast, AVG, Kaspersky, McAfee, etc. Those are trusted antivirus. Those are trusted sources. Thank you. All right. What tools would you recommend, Romero, for assessing the app security and app penetration and verify its vulnerabilities? All right. Okay, now for this, I want to try to post a link. Just give me a minute. Let me find the link out. Oh man. This link, okay, I'm coming, please. This thing is not coming up. But nevertheless, since it's not coming up, let's just write on. So he said, what tools would you recommend for assessing the app security and app penetration testing that will identify its vulnerabilities? All right, that's a very good question. We have so many apps out there. You can go to Google, go and browse about Ostolab, OSTOR, then LAB. So you can also browse for SandDroid, SANDDROID. You can actually browse for AppRay, app-ray. We have so many out there. You can actually browse for Immuniweb. Immuniweb as well works as well. So you can use that to assess your app security and to check if there is any vulnerability with your device. Now, if you are not, most of it is more or less like a do-it-yourself kind of app. But if you are not a penetration tester, it is very important. If it's an app that would go out on a large scale, it's very important for you to actually get the attention of a penetration tester to actually help you to verify the security of your application before you roll it out there. Because you won't want a situation whereby you are building a sensitive app like a bank app. You won't want a situation whereby after dropping it for like a month, people start complaining about the fact that there's a bug, there's a security flaw here or there. So it's very important for you to just outsource that part. That is, if you don't want to go through the ones that I've mentioned. Thank you. What do you think about the JWT token blacklisting practice versus call the host provider more often than in the blacklisting case? All right, I don't seem to understand this question, but nevertheless, let me just talk a little bit about what I feel you're talking about. Now, personally, I said as much as I do cybersecurity, I am also a software developer. So personally, I have more or less like a bias for JWT tokens. Most of the apps I build, I try as much as possible to use JW tokens for it. And that's because to some extent, I feel to some extent, I feel it is strong. I feel it is strong. It is superb. It is so easy to implement, and you can actually do a whole lot of things using your JWT tokens. For example, you can set your expiry. You can actually pass some kind of payloads inside your token. Now, for the other question that you asked, I would appreciate if you can actually rephrase this question. If you can rephrase the question so that I can understand it more, so I can give you an explanation. Or if you don't mind, if you can reach out to me on Twitter as well if you have further questions. Thank you. All right, what is the first thing to do if I notice that my social media like Facebook has been hacked? All right, most of these apps right now, they are doing something called 2FA, two-factor authentication. So it is very important if you've not activated two-factor authentication, some of the platforms that you belong to, I would suggest you do that. But now to the question that what is the first thing to do if you notice that your social media like Facebook has been hacked? First thing to do is relax. You don't need to panic. I know it's a thing of, it's a situation whereby people panic a lot. Yeah, I know, I understand. You can be scared, but the first thing to do is just for you to relax and trace back your steps. What were the things you did wrong? Now, try as much as possible to confirm if your mail has not been compromised. If your mail has not been compromised, quickly go to your mail, go and change the password to your mail, because that is one of the things that you are going to use to recover your Facebook password. So secondly, try as much as possible to know that your device, that is your mobile device, your phone has not been lost, that is with you. So if you have those two things, then you can just proceed to do a password reset on your own. So now, this question will actually make me digress a little bit to actually talk about one important thing. If you know, once you go to some platforms, if you want to do a password reset, they ask you some basic questions, some security questions that you actually provided for them when you were registering. Now, it is very important for you to listen to what I'm about explaining now. Now, disclaimer, I'm not trying to teach how to actually penetrate people, but it's just important for me to actually state this. Someone that wants to actually penetrate your social media, probably your Facebook or any of your accounts, the person goes ahead to click on password resets, and the person sees the kind of question that was brought. Okay, fine. What's the name of your childhood friend? Where did you grow up? What's the name of your first pet? Questions like that. The attacker already understands that, oh, yes, these are the kind of questions that is coming up. So it's a matter of a situation whereby the attacker approaches you on a friendly basis, sends a friend request to you, you guys chatting. You get so convenient with the person that, oh, this person keeps tab with you. Oh, hello, how are you doing? It's a friendly face. Now, situation whereby he can decide to use a fake picture, you don't know about that. It's just a friendly face. Now, one day, what will happen if the person sends you a form that, hello, kindly, I just developed a site or something, register on this platform and help me to tell me what you feel about it. Remember, the person is a friendly face. You're already convenient with the person, chatting with the person. So once you see all those, the person's form, that, okay, fine, register on this website to register, and you confirm that it's a legit website. Remember, you are filling the person, what the attacker needs to do is just watch those questions in your password recovery, add it as part of the questions in the form you're filling. So in a situation whereby you see that you start putting your answer to it, there's every probability that the answer you are supplying, there's every probability that the answer you're supplying is an answer that you supplied before in the past, because most people, we really don't love stress. So we try as much as possible to repeat what we've done before. So with that, the attacker already has an idea of the answer to all those password recovery questions. Just a matter of picking those things, go to the platform where they want to attack you and do it. Thank you. All right, is it recommendable to use password manager applications? It is a tricky question. Well, it's 100% secure. Even password managers can actually be compromised. But personally, I have to be honest, I use a password manager as well. And the reason why I use a password manager is because of the fact that I don't use one password in all the platforms I register in. So if I'm registering on a new password today, I generate a new on a new platform. I generate a new password entirely. So is it recommendable to use password manager application? If you have a trusted one, yes, you can use it. It is actually nice because it keeps you. It takes the stress off your stress of memorizing passwords. Now, most people get compromised because of the fact that they can't memorize long passwords. So they try as much as possible to shorten it, use something they can remember over time. And a situation whereby you've registered all through your life, you've done over 50 platforms. So does that mean you have to memorize 50 different passwords? And if those passwords are too complicated, you get to a situation whereby you tend to forget most of it. So that is why a password manager is actually important. You can use it, yes.
So I think that this was the last question. I would
Okay.
like to thank you again, Olowoniwa, and thank our sponsor Bluetooth. Thank you for this wonderful webinar, Olowoniwa. Have a great time. Thank you all.
All right. Bye.